name is Monica. I'm making a YouTube video today because I had a lot of people interested in how I made my carousel that was open with tonic dies. First and foremost, we're going to use the 2 dies here that are provided in the die set. And what I noticed was that these 3 points here in the die set here matched up and lined up with the corners. So I thought, well, I could cut that out and then use the empty die to cut away the decoration. So that's what I did. And you just want to, once you make your die cut, even it out. You could even mark it if you want to line this up. It's okay if it's every single one isn't lined up. Mine were not. Once you put them together, they will come together nicely to give you this. Now, once you get these glued, I recommend that you leave them alone for around 24 hours. And that's usually what I do when I have a lot of thin lines glued like this. Now the second thing that I did use was extra thick acetate. So I used a tool and I cut the diameter there. It's right under 8. I don't know if you can see that. I have it marked there with the little dot. And an A4 sheet or an 8.5 by 11 will work to cut this circle out. So you take your acetate, and what we're going to do is we're going to glue one of these on one side, and then we'll flip it over and then put the second one on. It. We're going to lay it right over. Okay, so I do have one on each side, and then I do cut an extra for either side, just so that I have, you know, the same thickness on either side. But this is what it's going to look like when you're all done. And it doesn't matter if you get some glue on here, on the acetate, because if you use alcohol, I have alcohol in one of my tonic bottles, and I just use cheap paper towels, and I put my finger in there, and I spray my finger in the paper towel like this, and I'll spray it and just rub it off, and then I let it alone until I can see, you know, where else I need to. Now you don't want to rub too much over by the paper. It'll take some time, a couple of times sometimes, to take the glue off, depending on what kind of glue you're using. I did find that the Nuvo Deluxe does hold to the acetate, but as an extra precaution, because these pieces here, we are going to be making these holes through the acetate, I did use some glossy accents just for extra hold. I didn't have any issues with the Nuvo Deluxe. I just wanted to ensure that the hold was going to be there. So let me get these glued, and then we'll move on to the next step. As you can see here, I've added all of my glue. I've just added a little bit of glossy accents on these sections that I know that we're going to abuse with the little cart holders and hole punching and or heat tool to get through that acetate. So you want to line this up as best you can. It's not very hard to line it up to the edges there. Just want to make sure it's all equal and that it is laying flat. Like I said, the glue is not my issue right here. I know that I can clean it up. It's not a big deal if we get glue on the acetate. So this is what your first layer will look like. Okay, so this is the other side that we will need. As you can see, I got some glue on my acetate, and I can clean that off later. So you'll have to do this twice. One side, you know, obviously one goes on one side, one goes on the other. So I'm going to let this dry now for a bit before we move on and so now what we're going to do is we're going to add another layer, because I just want this to be stronger. And I even thought maybe to offset it some, but I think I'll have to play around with that some other time. Right now, I'm gonna decide what's my inside and what's my outside, which I think I'm gonna make this my inside. And I'm gonna put this gray piece in here for my outside, because I'm working on this one for my Halloween Ferris wheel. I have cut some black cardstock. I did use an embossing folder, but it really didn't do too much, but we'll see, because we're going to add some Nouveau Mousse on there, and we'll see what it looks like. So now I did have a mishap, and this may happen when you do your cuts. So to me, it's no worries. I can, you know, fix that, and it's still usable, because I'm going to use, like I said, I'm going to use Nouveau Mousse on that, so it should not be a problem for me. But so that it'll have equal sides, I'm going to put a gray on the inside, and then of course once we get all of the little attachments done, we'll put the black on the outside. So let me get that done. Okay, so those are our two sides done. So we'll let those dry, and I like to put them under something that'll hold those centers down, and I'll make the next cuts and we'll move on from there. By the way, this bottle that I'm using is not Nouveau, because I am out. This is a glue called Reptile Glue. I am out of Nouveau glue, and so I'm waiting for some to get to me. But like I said, the Nouveau glue works perfect. It's what I used on my other one. Another thing, the paper that I used on the other Ferris wheel that looked like wood is actually called birch paper. I'll try to link it below. It's I bought it from Amazon. And then the acetate that I'm using, I bought also, the store will be linked below. It's called Craft Stash, and I buy my extra clear, clear extra thick acetate from them. It's really, really, really thick. I think it's a 280. It's really, really, really thick. So for things like this, I like to use like super thick acetate. I have not been able to get a hold of Tonic extra thick, like construction weight acetate, so I don't know if it is as thick, but I'm sure it'll work just fine. Okay, so we should be dry enough to move on with our pieces here, so we'll set those to the side. Next, we're going to need 6 of the small rods to make the cart holders, and we'll need 1 of the die cuts of the rod to make the center. And this is just basic construction from here. You're just gonna fold these, make the little rod, set them to the side to dry, and then we'll move on to the little carts. Okay, so we have those over to the side drying. Now I need to decide how I want my cart. So you're gonna need 12 pieces. It's basic construction again. Let me get all these little frays. Basic construction. You need. I use 24 because I found that the cart was a little weak because of these little strips here. So I cut 24 in the 2 pieces that I'm using, and I just strengthen it that way. Now I will also afterwards, when I go to decorate, what I'll do is I will cut pieces to decorate the inside. I do believe the Ferris wheel comes with those decorative pieces. But what I did with my last one is I just took the die. Let me get the die. What I do a lot with these Tonic dies is I take these dies here, and I take a pencil. Right now I can't find one, but here's a pen. And what I'll do is I will trace right along that edge. And that will give you just enough border when you cut that out, if you'd like to place it here, like with a mirror card, and then the decorative piece that Tonic provides you, it just gives you a nice little border there. You don't have to do that. I like to do that I feel like it gives it a little more character. But yeah, so on this one, what I will do is I will put my gray ones together first, and then I will see what I want of the black on the next section. For the bases of my little carts here, I do use a solvent glue. You can buy 321, you can buy Kalal. I've heard that there are others. Right now, what I have is available to me is Kalal because I ordered in bulk. But I'm about to run out, so I'll have to try 321. But it makes your bases very, very strong, and it does not warp the paper if you overuse glue. So on larger areas like this is what I will use. Use it the same as you do any other glue. But it's really good for like a little bit larger areas so that you will get no warping. Because I don't know about you guys, but sometimes I just overdo it with the glue and then I get warping, and I don't like the way it looks. So that is what I'm using for this section. And I do have to let it dry. It does take longer to dry, but it does, once it dries, it's like, well, they call it cementing, but I don't know exactly. But it does make your project really, really tough. So because I like to put a lot of chocolate and candy in my little carts, I do use this glue. Okay, so now we're going to work on the base, and the base is just the basic construction. We're going to take our first layer, we're going to glue the bottom layer in on both sides, and then we're going to add the side layers here. And then, because I like it to be super strong, because it is holding a component that is moving, I do add another layer of gray, and then I'll add the black on the top and the front. They may need to be trimmed. I don't know yet. I haven't, I don't remember off the last one that I did. Plus the last one I used inner layers as long, and also the wood layer. So these two will go side to side. These two will go on either end to begin our construction layer. And then my black layers, I will be taking off the tab here to put one in the front and one on the back. I may emboss these. So yeah, that's what we're going to do next. So now that we have that constructed, we'll let it dry. And I'll go back to my little carts here. I have just glued them on the bottom. So then I'll decide how I want these little carts to go over. And what I'll do is I'll trim away the tabs and just glue these on separately. I will cut them all apart and glue them on separately so that we have no interference with the folds here. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and glue the tabs so that I know I'm within my realm here. Okay, so I have my little carts done. They're ready. We have both of our sides of our Ferris wheel ready. We have our Ferris wheel stand ready. And I thought I had hit record on the video, but I did not. I just took some Nuvo silver and put it on this from the mousse and put it on my outside layer, and I had embossed. I didn't think it was going to look as good as it did. I didn't get a lot of that embossing on here because of course it's very thin strips, but it works for me. It's going to be a Halloween carousel anyway, like I said. So let me move this over. Slight is like in my face. Okay. So now we're going to make the holes for the Ferris wheel. And there are two ways you can do this. I've already done both, and it works. I have a soldering gun that I just push through the hole as such. Now, if you do not have a soldering gun, it makes a little bit of a plastic mess, but you can just clean it up with scissors after it dries, after it cools off. And this is going to be covered anyway, so your ends are going to be covered. So if you do not have a soldering gun, I used a hole punch. I have the large crocodile, and what I did was I used the largest one, and I just went around as close to the edge as possible to take out all of that acetate to make the hole. If you have a larger hole punch, you can use that. You just want to keep the hole as big as it is provided by the paper cut out, so that we can fit in that holder for the what's it called, for the little seat. Okay, so those are the two ways that I have found to go ahead and remove the plastic. So I'm going to go ahead and get that done, and then I'll be back so we can start assembling. Okay, so if we have an issue with, because there's so many layers there and the circles are not going to be perfect, we will have to break this down a little bit on the end. Not all of them will have to be done this way, but some of them do. You don't want to break off, you don't want to break the fibers in the paper more than just the end there, just so that you can get it in there. That way the rest of it is very sturdy. And then we're going to get it through, we're going to get it through there to the score line, and going to add our glue, because oh, I'm sorry, it needs to go the other way. Okay, so we're going to get our, okay, we're going to get our inside ready. Our inside has 2 pieces. Then we're going to add our glue. Going to get our little piece in there. And then we're going to bend our little tabs back. And then I push that forward. And then it's easier for me to set it down and just push it in. Okay. And that holds this way. So I'm going to go ahead and get all of them done, and then I'm going to set this over to cover our workings there. Okay, so that's what we're going to do next. And there you go. That is the basic construction for the carousel that I made with the cutouts. And I know it seems like a lot of waste, but I'm going to keep these. I can use them on a card, I think. I'm not going to put it all the way together yet because I do want to embellish it a little bit. But then you just decorate it the way you want. I would say that I probably wouldn't, I probably would not emboss the pieces again. I think I would buy embossed paper like I did last time. I'll have to go back through and re-stick these because I think that the embossing took in a lot of the glue that I was putting in. I didn't put enough. Thank you for joining me, and I hope that helps you. Bye.